talked with Anissa in regards to any of your EPIC questions. So Anissa is handling the training email. So if you get any response back from her from training@asnoa.com, that would be Anissa. So we're really excited to have Anissa with us today. Today we're going to have with us Sarah and Bill from MetLife. They are going to go over MetLife Flood and Flood certification with everybody today, along with Mike from ServiceMaster DSI, who's going to go over some great features for claims and what ServiceMaster has to offer. And then at the end, what I'm going to do is show you in EPIC the claims report that you will get emailed to you. We can set that up, and that will show you any of your claims that are being downloaded from the carriers. And then I'll show you in EPIC how to add in a claim. So remember, if you guys have any questions, email the training@asnoa.net, and we will get back to you guys as soon as we can with any questions that you have. All right, so thank you, Sarah and Bill, for joining today, and for Mike for joining. We're very excited, and also to chat in your questions, and you can see the little where to chat in. And if you haven't already done so, please register for the sales conferences that are coming to your area. We're going to be in Arizona next week, so please register for the sales conference and for the EPIC class. And I know everybody already has their ASNOA website login information, so you can join our trainings that we have available. Kathy's Small Business Commercial Lines course is getting underway. That's starting up in July. And I'm putting together, I'm very excited, a personal lines coverage course. So more information will be coming to you in regards to that in our ASNOA Advantage newsletter. So look for all that information upcoming. We're hoping to have something together for the personal lines class September, October. And that can be for all of your staff, anybody working in personal lines that are licensed or not licensed. Check out our YouTube videos. I know you guys have seen all these before, and you guys are subscribing to that, so thank you very much for that. And watch for the upcoming emails for Live with Laura. And do the evaluation, please, at the end. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see in the next Live with Laura. Last month, we had a lot of people that were asking about claims, so here we are. We're going to get started with that. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change presenters, and Sarah, I am going to make you presenter, and I'm going to unmute you, and I'm going to unmute Bill. Is there anybody else that you guys would like me to unmute to talk that's with your group?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, fantastic. So, Sarah, we can see your screen, so go ahead, and thank you so much again for joining.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Sarah Alfieri. I work for MetLife. I am the Principal Flood Coordinator for the Write Your Own program through the National Flood Insurance Program. I just took over this role actually in January from Doug Eichmann. Not sure if anybody had worked with him in the past. We decided to have the MetLife property line team kind of control the strategy around our flood program versus having the general agency control that. So I'm really excited. There's so much going on with what's going on in DC around the NFIP and how we can strategize and increase, awareness around flood moving forward. So just to kind of go over, what I'm going to kind of talk about for the next 15, 20 minutes, kind of talk about the flood insurance need that we have in pretty much every state. The flood platform that we use for quoting, some of you might be familiar with it, some of you might not. How you can become appointed for flood, trainings that are available through our processing flood platform, and then also some helpful links from FEMA and the NFIP and some contacts or my contact information as well. So just to give you a little bit of a background on the National Flood Insurance Program, not sure how familiar everybody is with it. It was created as a result of the National Flood Insurance Act of 1968 after there was major flooding along the Mississippi River in the early 1960s. The private insurance didn't want to insure flood, so it kind of fell onto the federal government. Their main objectives are to provide flood insurance, improve floodplain management, and develop maps of the flood hazard zones. And those are the maps that mortgage companies use in determining if somebody needs to have flood insurance along with their mortgage. So currently, the NFIP program is only available in participating communities. There's about 22,000 communities in the country. So if you're not part of the community, if you're not in a participating community, unfortunately, you can't have an NFIP policy. But I would say a large majority of the communities, especially areas where mortgage companies are requiring it, are a participating community. And to become participating, it just means you need to have established management regulations to reduce future flood losses. So the Write Your Own program, which MetLife is part of, also called the WIO, began in 1983, and there's now about 60 Write Your Own companies, MetLife obviously being one of them. We are kind of under pressure right now from FEMA and the National Flood Insurance Program to assist them with their moonshot goal. If you've heard it, they have this objective, and they put pressure on us as an insurance company to double the number of structures covered by flood insurance and increase the mitigation investment 4 times by 2022. They're unclear, and they won't elaborate if that means they're focused on just NFIP policies through the government, or if it also includes private insurance carriers, which is becoming a little bit more common in the industry now, as we see in the news and in any kind of insurance publications that you may receive. But really the purpose of FEMA is they just want to reduce the number of people that apply for federal assistance after a flood loss. So if it's private insurance or if it's federal insurance, if people have flood insurance, it will reduce the amount of claims for federal assistance after a catastrophic event occurs. And that's really what they're hoping for. So it could possibly mean that they just want to double the number of people that with flood insurance, regardless of if it's a federal or a private carrier. And it's not focused on premium, as you can see, it's just the number of structures, so policy count. So that's really put a lot of pressure on us, and they're really focused on our marketing strategy as a Write Your Own company. So why do you need flood insurance? You might hear many of your customers or people in general just say, I don't need flood insurance. I'm not near the ocean. I'm not near a river. I'm up on a hill. Devastating floods can happen everywhere. And there's been a flash flood or a flood occurrence in every single state in the country. So nobody is free and clear of a flood claim, no matter where you are. So in 2017, on the slide, the average flood insurance claim payment was more than $91,000. There's also seasonalities around flood insurance, and the FEMA and the NFIP have really focused on targeting their marketing campaigns and social media with creating marketing materials that we can use, that you can use, that target around the seasonalities around flood. So in the springtime and through even now in the Midwest, the snow melts fast. And this year we saw that in the Midwest, the snow melted too fast, and they had a really tough winter. And it just created floods along, and rivers crested, and it just created a lot of flooding. These people did not have, or for a majority of them did not have flood insurance, and they weren't in flood zone, and they weren't in high-risk flood zones. So FEMA, you'll hear them say, low risk doesn't mean no risk. You might be in a flood zone X, which means low risk, but it'll never mean there's no risk. So nobody is in a no risk flood zone. Heavy winter rains in the west bring mud flow, flash flood, mud flow. Wildfires in the west and the northwest eliminate vegetation, and they cause mud flow and flash floods. And I have a really great slide. The next slide kind of shows how the wildfires, because a lot of people even here at Met are like, well, how does a wildfire cause flooding? So it's a really interesting diagram that I can show you next that will really portray how significantly increased you are at risk for a mud flow or a flash flooding after your area has been devastated by a wildfire, even a wildfire nearby to you. So flood insurance versus disaster assistance. The good thing about NFIP flood insurance claims, they don't have to be repaid. Disaster assistance typically does. And it's only available if it was declared a national disaster by the president, and there must be repaid with interest. The average assistant grant is around $4,000. And if you look over on the left side of my chart, which I just mentioned, $91,000 was the average NFIP claim in 2017. So $4,000 is not going to get you a new house or even new furniture. So it's really limited, and everybody is applying for disaster assistance, and the claim payments don't come immediate, so you do have to wait for them. And you're probably seeking aid with where to shelter yourself in the meantime. So also available on the FEMA site, they have a really, and I can give all these links out to everybody, but they have a sliding scale where you can go up and down of how much water is in your house. Is it 1 inch? Is it 2? Is it 10 inches? Is it 3 feet? And it'll show how much your estimated claim payment will be based on how much water is in your house. So 1 inch of water can cause more than $25,000 in damage. So 1 inch of water is not much at all, but I mean, it adds up quickly when, your floors become rotted or you have mold. You really have a significant impact. And if you're seeking disaster assistance for that one inch of water, you're probably not going to be fully recovered. And in 2017, nearly 50% of the Hurricane Harvey flood insurance claims came from outside high-risk flood areas. So the people in the South, most of them didn't have flood insurance. They probably thought the same thing. I don't need flood insurance. I'm not in a high-risk flood zone. I'm not in a flood zone. And then last year, only 10% of homes in the path of Hurricane Florence had flood insurance. So 10%. There also probably were not in flood insurance, high-risk flood areas either. And then I know right now, Iowa is seeing some significant flooding along the Mississippi River, and most of them don't have flood insurance either. I know it appears that the river crested. There are temporary flood dams were destroyed, and all of the homes in that area were flooded, and they're still underwater. So nobody is free of not having a flood insurance claim. So this is the diagram that I was talking about, and it's available in the agency portal on the FEMA site. And it just kind of walks you through, and you could certainly show this to any customers. You could print it out. You can send it to them as a PDF. It just kind of explains, what happens when there's a wildfire and it burns the vegetation, and which typically allows the water to absorb. And then once the next rainfall happens, the water bounces off the soil, and it just results downhill for low-lying communities. They experience mud flow or flash floods, and and in areas that maybe weren't even inundated by the wildfire. It could have been, areas miles away, but now the areas downstream or down a hill or farther away might be impacted by the mud flow or the flash flooding. So I'm not sure how many agents have been on the Torrent flood site. So this is kind of the welcome screen for our flood processing center. So it's, once you are appointed with our flood insurance program, you would be getting a sign-in and password access to this site. And the above is the link that you would be going to. We use Torrent as our vendor. They're the second largest flood vendor. And really, we signed up with them in 2016. They handle our commissions. They handle assignments to claims adjusters. They handle underwriting. They handle a lot of the servicing on the back end because they're pretty much the expert in making sure everything is done right away. I mean, when there's a change to flood zone mapping, when there's an adjustment to underwriting guidelines or rating, they're on top of it and they get it done really fast because they're doing it for all of the Write Your Own companies. So it's really a great system. Their staff is really fast. It uses a guide wire system, so it has the claim center, the policy center. It's a nice flow. I'll show you in a minute just how you can get through just from the home page and be able to kind of show briefly like some of the reporting and the claim center that you can get to. They also have, you can submit unmapped addresses. So if there's somebody that maybe is in a new home and there's no address or hasn't been assigned a flood zone yet, you can submit it, and their turnaround time is about 24 hours. So they're pretty fast. They'll figure out what flood zone they're in, and they'll get back to you. They'll send you an email. There's live chat functions with a team, so you can ask questions if you have, about one of the questions that's asked in the application. If there's a concern, you can certainly use the live chat function. There's reporting capabilities, so you can see, where your customers are relative to flood zones. You can see what your agency policy count is, your claims count. They're always providing enhancements to the system, and they're pretty open to feedback as well. So I've provided some feedback, and they try to incorporate it to even sometimes, across all of the companies that they work with. And but they're really fast with FEMA updates. So usually we get them last minute. So they're really fast. They'll get them installed pretty quickly. One thing I did want to note is later in the year, FEMA is going to require NPN numbers to be entered for all individual agents. So keep that in mind when you're starting the flood policy, that if you can enter it now, or you'll be prompted later on, but that is something that FEMA is going to require to track. So I just wanted to throw that in there now to be on the lookout. So just to kind of go back, I want to show you what I was talking about. So this is the homepage here. This is what you would see for the most part when you log into the site. Here you have like Policy Center. You can find a policy. You have Claim Center. You can find a claim. You can do your reports. You can see what your production was. Here's the flood chat I was talking about. So you click it and it'll pop up, and just enter your name, your agency name, not the customer's name. And then this help function at the top too. This will give you a lot of training guidelines. It'll give you, how to interpret elevation certificates. And the elevation certificates, this is really helpful because you have to make sure those are entered exactly the way the elevation certificate reads. Otherwise, it might misapply at the flood zone when you're submitting it, and it might change the rate on the back end. So really important, but again, you can use the live chat function, or you can call if you have any questions about that. But that's really important, so you can get the lowest rate possible for the customer if they have this. So it goes through a lot, and there's some FAQs at the bottom. So this is all really helpful tips. When you come over here, if you want to pull up a quote you had done, this is where you would pull up the quote. You can start a new quote. I don't have the function to start a new quote since I'm not a licensed agent, so I don't have that. But so see, I'm going to pull up one of my test quote that somebody else had done. And what's really nice is pretty much every single question will have this question mark here. So it'll kind of walk you through some of the questions. So if when it gets into levels above the ground level, or if it gets into, coastal barrier reef areas, or questions that might be a little bit confusing, this will help explain it a bit more. And a lot of them have those little question marks, so you can just understand the question a little bit better as you go through the quotes. And there's a lot of questions, and some of them may be redundant, but they are the required questions by the NFIP program. So that's the site. There's a lot more, but I didn't want to go through a whole training with you because that would need quite a bit of time. So let me just go back to my PowerPoint. So there are a few demos, live demos, and also pre-recorded demos that are available. There's one this week, and this here, I don't know what the best way to get these over to you. If maybe Mary or Laura, you can send out this link to everybody so you can sign up and register there.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll send that out to everybody.
All right, yeah, I'll send that to you because I put it in the PowerPoint, but obviously that's not going to help you. But this will allow you to register. They're an hour and a half, and there's a few this month and then next month. And if you don't want a live demo, and if these times don't work for you, there's some pre-recorded demos that you can find under the training link on the main page, and you can just watch them on your own time. So they're just pre-recorded. They kind of walk you through some screenshots. They're great if there's a piece that you really need to learn more about that wasn't covered in the live demo. So they'll go through a bunch of things about requesting cancellations, paying renewals, endorsing, entering quotes and applications. And if there's ever anything that you need more assistance on, you can certainly reach out to your RSM, or you can reach out to me, and we can we probably have some kind of training document with it. But there's also a training document that I can have Laura send out as well. That's a huge Word document that kind of gives you step-by-step directions, as well as going throughout the whole entire quote and application. As far as getting yourself appointed, you should all be licensed already with MetLife Auto and Home, but to become a flood agent, on this site up here, the MetLifeGA.com, there's a link. I'm assuming this would be the one that would be applicable to everybody here for, yes, I'm a MetLife Auto and Home appointed. So you would click here for independent agents, and basically it'll pull up this sign now virtual or e-signature, but it will ask you to upload your certificate. So if you don't have a certificate, there's a 3-hour flood training that would give you that certificate. And just as an FYI, the certificate name must match your licensee name. So that is really important. Otherwise, it will get kicked back to you if it doesn't match the name. But then that gets sent to us, and we'll process your appointment. We'll get you registered with the torrent site, and you'll have access to it. All right, so there's some helpful links and contacts. A lot of the image that I showed you about the wildfire, all other marketing material that you can use for customers or for a website is on the agents.floodsmart.gov. There's so much material. They're focused right now on hurricane season, which starts June 1st. And if that's not applicable to your areas, you can always focus on the importance of flood insurance at any time. Remember, there's a 30-day waiting period, so it's not like a hurricane could be coming up the coast or a wildfire coming nearby, and you can sign everybody up for flood insurance, because unless it's a new home purchase, there is a 30-day waiting period. So that's really important for you and the customers to know that they're not getting a policy right away. The flood dashboard, where you can go to get to see more information about the flood program, as well as certify yourself or get appointed, is the MetLife. I'm sorry, the flood dashboard, where you can sign up sign up your customers. That's the MetLife.torrentflood.com. And then this is my information here. You can always reach out to your RSM. But if you have any questions, especially of urgency, you can call me. I'm in Rhode Island, so I'm on Eastern time. And this is my email address. So please feel free to reach out to me with feedback, with questions. And if I don't know the answer, I can find somebody at Torrent or within MetLife that can assist you. But that was all I had. I'll provide all the necessary information to Laura to include in a follow-up email. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Sarah. I do have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Where do you find the flood training so you can get that certificate? Is that something that MetLife offers?
We don't offer it directly. Let me get that information for you. It's not something that MetLife has like in-house. It's like a third party, similar to like a licensing type of certificate when you get your PNC license. But I can certainly find out where that certificate would have to come from.
Okay, thank you. Another question, do you have to be licensed with the MetLife Auto and Home to get appointed with the flood?
No. Nope, you don't. So we do have a lot of agents that don't write MetLife Auto and Home products that do write flood. There's just that link I had shown here. So this is where they would go to just become flood appointed, but not MetLife Auto and Home appointed. So it would just
if they already have their flood certificate with another carrier, they can use that flood certification.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. And do you know what commission is?
I do. Is this Laura or Mary asking the question?
This is Laura.
Oh, Laura, Mary, I'm not sure how Allegiance Group does this. Mary, is that something that is shared? Is Mary on the line?
No, Mary's not on the line.
Oh, okay.
You know what? We'll find that information out, and
okay.
then we can get that to our agents in regards to that.
Okay.
All right. Fantastic. Another question: the $4,000 in the disaster assistance, is that a flat rate, or is that based on the amount of the total disaster?
That was an amount that FEMA had provided as like an average payout. So it's not that that's the maximum amount. It's just that that's what the average that they were divvying out over a course of time. So they didn't really provide too much specifics around that a couple years, but when they were comparing like the average flood claim, they were comparing that to like the average in flood disaster, in like just natural disaster assistance. So there could possibly be, you could get more. Maybe it's dependent on how many other people have claims, if they have a certain amount that they set aside. But that was just the average amount. But there is probably people that got a lot more and a lot less.
Okay, fantastic. Is there any other questions that anybody has for Sarah? You can raise your hand or chat in any questions. Sarah, I think that's all the questions that we have. Thank you so much for joining today. That was some great information.
Thank you. And I'll send over the links and some of the attachments that were provided if you want to send those out to everybody.
Okay, I certainly will. I'll send that all that information in our follow-up email to all of our agents.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So what we're going to do is we're going to change presenters, and we're going to bring on Mike. So Mike, if you could share your screen, I would greatly appreciate that. And there we go. And Mike, you're self-muted.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
We can, Mike. Thanks for joining.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Laura, for having me. This is definitely a great opportunity for me to be able to obviously introduce myself to everyone and talk a little bit about ServiceMaster as well as the partnership that we've established with SNOA for the last couple of years. My name is Mike Resnick. I am the regional account executive. Been in this position for going on 4 years right now, based out of the Chicago hub and actually work out of the Downers Grove location. So I don't know how many people here are familiar with that area, but that's where I'm from. And for anyone that isn't familiar with ServiceMaster or hasn't used us in the past, my goal obviously today is to change that. And the 4 things that I'm kind of going to touch up on is, one, just really quickly go over exactly who we are and what we do. Some of the benefits that obviously help out agents as well as the service master and the restoration industry with us working together, kind of what we could provide and how we can make your lives a little bit easier. Also go into some of the services we provide, I guess, that you guys probably see most consistently, and then at the end answer any questions you guys may have, and that'll be it. Hopefully it's pretty painless. Well, we'll start out with, let me just get this thing working. First thing, we are a ServiceMaster DSI. Now, I don't know if anyone actually knows, but the way ServiceMaster is ran, it's all individual franchises. So anyone can go ahead, purchase the brand, get a truck, a warehouse, and start their own ServiceMaster franchise. Now, what differentiates us from the rest is that DSI you see after the name. Now, what that stands for is Disaster Services, Inc., and we, believe it or not, are the largest ServiceMaster in the world. And with that comes unparalleled resources, equipment, manpower, as well as expertise. So our franchise alone, we have been in business for over 60 years. We've done mitigation work in over 20 countries. We have over 50 strategically positioned SRM locations domestically, as well as 400 commercial response locations domestically, and we're backed by a $2.4 billion company, which obviously is extremely helpful with, especially lately, how many hurricanes and natural disasters, and even locally the polar vortexes and the floods. It's definitely great to know that we're backed by a company that could provide the necessary resources as well as updated equipment and really be able to help out anyone in need. So this map really shows all the major cities that we're in. As you can tell, it's pretty much every big city in the U.S., and this is strategically that way. One, obviously, the bigger the city, the more residents, the more opportunity for us to land work, but also being strategically positioned all around the U.S. really allows us to get to anywhere we need to be in a short period of time. I know just most recently we had Hurricane Harvey down on the coast, Irma in Florida, Florence and Storm Sandy on East Coast, California fires out west. So with us being in all the major hubs, really allows us to team up when in need and send all the resources, rally our troops, and be able to get out there and assist all the families in need that have been affected by these disasters. Now, with these hubs, obviously we have response centers that work in each location. Now, these are your warehouses that house all the employees, the crew chiefs, project managers, the trucks, the fans, the equipment. And this reason we're all strategically located is we want to be able to get to each city that a claim may happen, whether it's residential or commercial, in the shortest period of time. Now, another real big benefit for this, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this recently with the polar vortex or just the major rains that we've had within the last couple of weeks, is you get a large number of calls coming in with either frozen pipes or sub pump backups, and these customers are desperate and they need someone to come out there and help them out. But with the large number of calls, a lot of restoration companies just don't have the means to handle that amount of jobs coming in. So what allows us to do when something like that occurs is we can pull from all of these other response centers, whether it's in different states, and really send all the necessary, resources, manpower, equipment to help each other out and be able to get out and assist all of your clients that may need assistance in a very short period of time. Because as we know, the longer water sits in the basement or in drywall, the claim can only go up from there. So that's definitely a big bonus. Now, obviously, the Chicago Metro, we do have our own response centers. So we have 8 strategically located all around the Chicagoland area, from Champaign, Chicago, Downers, Kankakee, Lake Zurich, Princeton, Rockford, and Springfield. So this pretty much handles the entire northern part of the state. The way we are positioned is our goal is to be able to get to any residence or commercial building within a 2-hour span. And that's from the moment we get a phone call to the moment we knock on the customer's door. And we believe that with these locations that we're in, that allows us to do that. So definitely helps out with the speed and the quality of the service that we can provide. Now, next, I'm going to touch up on some benefits of working with ServiceMaster DSI. The first one, and I think it's actually the most vital, is the pre-approved pricing that we have. Now, with us being in the industry for so long and being a preferred vendor to most of the major insurance carriers, we have established a pre-approved pricing. And what this really does is this allows us, to the moment we step in that door, whether the adjuster is there or not, we have the green light to go ahead and do any sort of mitigation that's necessary. So the goal is we don't leave until that house is completely stable. Now, obviously, the benefit of that is once the house is dry, that claim can't get any worse. Once we get to that point, we step back, let the adjuster come in, and then at that point, we, kind of follow the rules that adjuster provides for us. But that pre-approved pricing really gives us the benefit, and also really makes the customer at ease. They see us come in, and we're not taking pictures and leaving. We're actually setting equipment, getting the process, and they can actually see that the wheels are turning and something's actually being done, which that is definitely a big factor. Second is the 24/7 direct response person. Now, in this case, that person would be me. The beautiful thing about this is you guys get a phone call from your customer. There is no 1-800 number you send them to or no 1-800 number you call. The direct person is my direct cell phone. Now, I know my fiance isn't too happy about this, but I literally sleep with my cell phone, go on vacation with it, you name it, it's around my hip. So anytime, night and day, any phone call comes through, I answer it, and we have crews on standby that can go out there and assist any claim that may need assistance. The third one, it kind of piggybacks off of the response person. Each job has their own designated account manager or managers. So what that means is project manager, crew chief. Each customer, when we walk in the door, the crew chief, project manager hands them their business card, as well as obviously when I come through, I hand them mine as well. Any questions they have throughout the entire process on when things are getting delivered, when we'll be back next, how the drying process is going. They have 3 points of contact they can reach out to at any point in time that we can answer, and everyone's on the same page to make the process obviously as efficient as possible. Next is priority response to your losses. Now, we highly prioritize any direct referral we get from an agent. So the moment you guys call us, this doesn't just get thrown in the hopper and, we get to it when we do. I'll take it. I babysit the claim from A to Z. We move it up to the front of the line, make sure we get someone, calling that customer right away, and then getting our crews out there in as fast a period of a time to obviously, make that, that tough part of their life, in that point in time, make it as pleasant as possible. Now, as far as the advanced equipment and resource staging, being backed by the $2.4 billion company really gives us the ability to have the most up-to-date equipment. We change them up all the time. The best trained staff, best trained project managers, crew chiefs. So when we're sending someone out to your policyholder's home, they're going to get the best equipment as well as the best trained staff at all time. Next one, the full service mitigation restoration company. Now, this is one thing that we do that's pretty unique, especially in the mitigation world, is we are full service. Not only can we come out and dry up the residence or, clean it from smoke, debris, or whatever it may be, but we can also do the complete demolition as well as the rebuild. So we can do a complete A to Z mitigation through restoration. And the major benefit of this is we can also offer a warranty on all the work we do. A lot of times when a company comes in, does the drying process, leaves, and then another company has to come in and take over the construction, neither company really wants to give a warranty because they can't vouch for what the other company is going to do. So this is one thing that if we keep it all under one roof, we can provide that warranty. And it also gives the customer a much more efficient experience. They don't have to deal with calling 3-4 different companies. They have one project manager, one crew chief, one direct response person, and we can handle the job from A to Z. The next thing is constant follow-up throughout the claim. Now, this is mainly for between us, obviously, and yourselves, the insurance agents. Now, I've had many agents in the past that tell me, hey, Mike, once I give you the work, no news is good news. If I don't hear anything back from anyone, obviously that means the job went well, and that's all I want. But then I have some policy agents that really want to be involved. They want to know exactly what stage we're in. They'd like to have the photos. They want to be up to date. So if the customer calls them, we all seem like a well-oiled machine and we're all on the same page. Because one thing that we definitely know is when we get a referral from one of you guys, we're going out there representing your insurance company. When we go out there, nine out of 10 times, they don't think of us as ServiceMaster. They think of us as part of whatever, insurance policy that they have written. So we do a great job. They think the agent did a fantastic job. If we drop the ball, they think the agent dropped the ball. So we obviously go in there with fully knowing that. So we make sure we keep, great notes, follow up with you, the customer, whatever it may be, to keep the process as efficient as possible. And that obviously leads into policyholder retention. The better experience they have when something like this occurs, a claim, the better odds there is for them to staying with that insurance provider. So we obviously really, really, appreciate the partnership that we have and you trust in us to do the work. So we obviously want to make sure we do the same and do the highest level of cleanup or restoration or mitigation, so that customer goes back and is very satisfied with their insurance company and stays with you for the long haul. Next thing is improve the loss ratio. Now, this is extremely important, and this kind of ties back with the pre-approved pricing. So with the prices being pre-approved, 9 out of 10 times we are not only going to be the quickest that could get out to do the work, but we're also going to be the cheapest. And with that, obviously, the lower the payouts, the better loss ratio there is. And also another thing that we really, really love to do, and unfortunately, I feel like it doesn't get utilized enough, is we want to be a strong resource for the agent. I'm sure there's many times where you guys have ran into a problem where a homeowner panics, has a little water in the basement, instantly goes files a claim. Turns out the adjuster goes out there, tells them, oh, well, that's $200 worth of damage. You have a $1,000 deductible. They decide, well, I'm not going to pay that deductible, and no problem. Now, renewal comes. All of a sudden, they're calling you saying, hey, why the heck did my policy go up when I never paid my deductible and never got a payout? Well, that claim was filed, and now the premium goes up. So what we really like to do and what we really urge you guys to use us for is when something like that ever occurs, do not hesitate to give me a call, or I'll be the best person to call, and I could either give someone or I personally will go out to that home at no charge whatsoever, and we'll take a look and inspect that loss for them. At that point, we could give them a better idea. If it's a few $100s worth, you want us to handle it, we're here, and it's definitely not worth filing a claim. Or we could give them a better idea, well, this is what we're thinking is going to be, and it may be worth filing a claim. And that way I could save some claims being filed and some upset customers at renewal time. And the next one is profitability bonuses. Now, obviously, I don't know about you guys, but even though I love my job, the reason I do it is to make a few bucks, right? So with this, minimizing the amount of claims that are filed or lowering the amount of the payouts, obviously, we want to be able to help out and, put a few extra bucks in your guys' pocket whenever we get the chance. And last but not least is the quick response. And I keep beating that to death, but that's number one, first and foremost thing. Not only does that make the customer happy and, show that we care, but also really lowers the amount of damage that claim is going to provide if we can get out there in a very reasonable time. So moving on, next is the value of quick response. Now, obviously, the way I look at it is we, in an ideal situation, ServiceMaster or any first responder should be out there the moment the firefighter or the plumber are leaving the door. They should be walking out. We should be walking in, if at all possible. Now, with that, the benefits are, first of all, peace of mind. We'd be able to go ahead and we could really put that customer at ease. We can, address any safety issues they may have, and then we can start setting equipment, get the ball rolling. They can see things are happening, and they see, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Their house is going to be okay. Next, we could also secure the property. Now, this is extremely important, especially after, if there's a roof leak or if there was a fire and there's windows blown out. We can go ahead and tarp that roof, prevent any more water coming in. Go ahead and board up all the windows, any openings in the house, doors, to really make it secure. Even things like laundry. You wouldn't believe how many times, the homeowner, that's something they can't do. They don't have anywhere to go with it. We have a service that can provide that. We can handle that, help them out as much as we possibly can. Next is be the eyes and ears for the adjuster. Now, this is extremely important since we're 9 out of 10 times out there before the adjuster can get there. So we're more than happy to help with taking photos, documenting everything. We want to make sure that the insurance company is in complete control of this claim from the moment it begins till the end. And then lastly, just to protect subrogation evidence. Obviously, there's many a times where we've kind of went in there and we collect all the evidence, take photos and make sure that if that's how that policy or that claim is going to go, that we could be a big help in that aspect as well. Next, I'm going to change gears just a little bit and really kind of go in and dive into some of the services we provide. Now, we do provide many more than this, but these are, that would take me an extremely long time to go over, and these are probably the ones you guys run into most frequently. Now, water and fire by far are bread and butter, but hoarding, trauma, pack out, and reconstruction are not far behind. So the first one we'll talk about is water losses. Now, this one, I'm sure you've been an agent long enough, you have dealt with plenty and plenty of these, whether it's burst pipes or sub pump backup or just leakage through the foundation, whatever it may be. This is something you run into all the time. Now, all the time, when something like this happens and a customer calls in, we want to get out there as fast as possible to help, but you guys are the first level of defense. Obviously, when they get a claim, first thing they think of is, I got to call my insurance agents. Now, while we're gathering up our crews and heading out to their home, there is a few tips that I'd love to share with you guys. You guys can provide your policyholders to kind of give them something to do, but B, also to minimize the amount of loss or the amount of money their claim's going to need to pay out. The first one is, it's pretty obvious, just remove as much water as possible by mopping and blotting. Now, this obviously just less standing water you can have, the better. This prevents any odors, prevents any water getting into drywall, any mold. So that's obviously a pretty obvious one. Second, remove wet area rugs or other floor coverings not permanently attached. Lift draperies off the floor, loop through a coat hanger, and place the hanger on the drapery rod. This is it seems pretty obvious, but a lot of times that's one of those things customers forget. They'll pick up all the boxes, their furniture, but they forget, the drapes that are sitting there in the water. So this is one quick little thing they can do to prevent damage. Move photos, paintings, and art objects to a safe, dry place. Now, this also includes any furniture that's, furniture that they're able to move. Now, obviously, large, bookshelves and dressers, they may not be able to move themselves, but anything that they can, obviously, it's smart to get it out of the water. And the last one is run a dehumidifier if one is available. Now, as you can see, nowhere on this sheet do I have it saying put fans. And the reason I do that, and this is the biggest misconception, a lot of people think, got to put a fan, get the place dried. And a lot of times that is a smart move, but I hesitate to recommend it until we get out there. Because many times there'll be a family on vacation. They come home a week after that water's been sitting in their basement. And after about 48 hours, mold can start to grow. The moment you put the fan on a molded area, that's just going to blow those mold particles all around that room or all around the home. Not only can that keep spreading mold, but also very hazardous to your health. So until a restoration company comes out there and really puts eyes on it and realize there is no mold, I would definitely hesitate on recommending anyone to put a fan just to prevent that from happening. Now, some not to do's are also pretty obvious, but you wouldn't believe how often we actually see people getting hurt by doing some of these things that we tell them not to. The first one, do not enter a room with standing water until electricity has been turned off. Second, do not use a regular household vacuum to remove water. Do not lift tacked down carpet without professional help. Do not use electrical appliances while on wet carpet or flooring. And then the last one, obviously, kind of goes hand in hand with the fan. Do not disturb visible mold. So those are things definitely to recommend, or tips you can definitely give your policyholders when they call with a claim. And then as far as waiting on mitigation, this is one of the biggest things we also see and the biggest misconceptions, I think. The way I look at it is, the word waiting and mitigation should never be in the same sentence. In order to be really effective through the mitigation, the quicker you act, the better, I guess, we could resolve that issue, the faster and, the lower damage that we'll see. Now, some of the damages that can occur if they decide to wait on the mitigation instead of starting right away. The first one is carpet delamination. Now, this is where the carpet backing becomes loose and separates from the rest of the carpet, allowing the face fibers to come out. Now, a lot of times, if we get out there fast enough, we can definitely save any carpet that's been wet. We go ahead, we can take the fan, set them on there. Even there's padding. Sometimes it's a little hard, but even then, there's been times we've been able to save it. If it's too long, once it starts delaminating, that carpet's got to go. So not only is this causing a much larger job, much larger payout, but also it's going to take a lot longer for that family to have full use of that room. And obviously, all three of them are negatives. Second one is drywall damage. Now, wall cavities in general, they trap water when it gets soaked. And the sheetrock will also wick water up the wall. And this will cause a ton of damage. And after long enough time passes, that's where you start seeing your mold and your fungal growth. So the quicker we get in there, set fans, obviously that eliminates that problem. The hardwood flooring. Now, I'm sure many of you have either seen or experienced hardwood that's had water come underneath it and sit there for quite some time, and it starts to warp. Well, at that point, once it's warped, there's really nothing we can do. If we were able to get in there, throw the fans on there in an efficient manner, that gets dried out. That's a big, part of the restoration process that would be avoided. But once the warping happens, now not only do we have to remove all the flooring, but now they have to, purchase new flooring. We have to install it, and this adds, thousands of dollars onto that claim that could have been easily avoided. And then mold growth. Now mold is one of the biggest things that could be prevented with a quick response. Now, waiting on mold could start growing. If it's in a perfect kind of situation, within 48 hours, you could start seeing mold spores. Now, I know most of you guys working in the insurance world know that it's one of the biggest concerns of any insurance company and homeowners. A lot of times there's coverage issues, whether it gets, covered or not. So mold is something that by all means we want to avoid. So the quicker the response, quicker we could definitely make sure that doesn't happen. And then foul odors, that's pretty self-explanatory with the mold or standing water. You're going to get some odors that obviously we would like to avoid with a quick response. The next one is fire and smoke damage. Now, actually the photo we have here, this was, believe it or not, one of my losses. It was actually a son had a little remote or a gas-powered airplane, decided he wanted to fill it up with gas in the garage, and unfortunately this happened. Now, luckily, nothing happened to the son, but the garage is definitely pretty shot here. We had to go ahead and rebuild the entire garage for them. But one of the things, too, is there is a difference between fire and smoke damage. A lot of times fire comes through, that's more of a big restoration job, while smoke, it could just be staining, odor Sometimes if it's just a little bit, like for example, a neighbor's house that caught fire, both neighbors on each side could have smoke damage. So those are two different claims. So we definitely have to look at them and treat them differently. And there is four main effects that cause, what extent of fire smoke mitigation we're going to have to do. And this is definitely good to know. If the customer ever calls, these are a couple of questions you guys could possibly ask to really get a better understanding of what we're looking at. Now, the first one is time. Now, that's just basically the amount of time that passed before the restoration cleaning begins. So obviously, the more time, the more difficult it is to clean and the greater the chances of permanent damage. So that really goes back to the quick response and not waiting on mitigation. Second is humidity. Now, the higher the moisture content, definitely the greater the corrosive reaction and damage can occur. Now, you may ask, well, where is this humidity and water coming for when there's a fire? Well, when there's a fire, obviously someone needs to put it out. So you get the fire department come out, they spray this house with hundreds of gallons of water, and now it went from a fire to almost more of a water mitigation claim. Well, at that point, the longer it takes before we can get out there, start to drying. Now you're talking about, again, mold, odors, as well as any metal objects in the house start to rust. There's a ton of extra damage that can occur with waiting on restoring that post-fire. The third one is temperature and pressure. Now, pressure-driven smoke infiltrates all porous surfaces, and the amount of pressure is directly related to the temperature generated by fire. So as the temperature in the fire rises every 10 degrees, the air volume doubles, compresses the smoke molecules, and increases the soot in a wider range of surface. So obviously, if the longer the fire has been burning, obviously the higher temperature, more pressure, that's going to create a lot more soot and a lot more cleanup, which could obviously increase the amount of the claim. And last but not least, the type of combustible materials. Now, smoke residues from fires of natural origin, for example, wood, paper, generally much easier to clean up. But fires that have burned synthetics, for example, plastic or protein, those are much, much harder. So just even asking what room was affected and what kind of materials or what kind of stuff they had inside. I mean, if it was, children's toys, a full room of toys, then that could be definitely much, bigger cleanup than if it was just a empty room that had, or like a library with some books in it. So that's definitely a couple things that are good to know if in case you guys ever get a call about a fire. Next one, hoarding. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. That's a before and after photo of work we've done. We have the training and as well as the resources to deal with any sort of hoarding. Now, this goes all the way from obviously the cleaning, the biohazard cleanup, all the way to the psychological issues that we have to deal with the customer. Many times when we're working with a homeowner that has a hoarding problem, it's not as easy as just getting in there and pulling up a dumpster, throwing all their stuff away, and cleaning their house and they're set. A lot of times these folks don't really see the problem as a problem. They think that these are all their personal belongings that all have value. So we are trained and licensed to provide the entire hoarding mitigation process, all the way from, again, psychological work with before and after, and then as well as all the biohazard, mold, odor cleanup, construction, whatever it may be. We can definitely take this all the way from A to Z. Next one, trauma cleaning. We did have a couple photos of post or jobs that we have, but some of them aren't for the faint of heart. So I figured better to be safe and just kind of leave those out. But this is something that not many restoration companies can say they provide, and it's biohazard removal. So we've worked with a ton of cases from unattended deaths, and that's pretty much a homeowner that's a lot of times elderly or lives alone and have passed away and have been unnoticed for an extended period of time. So a lot of times those areas are often severely contaminated. So we have the ability to go in and clean up a residence obviously post unattended death, as well as we've worked on crime scenes, anything from murders, rapes, robbery, aggravated assault, We've worked with police departments cleaning out scenes before they could go in there and obviously, do what they have to do. Post-suicide, as well as other hazardous trauma cleanups, accident injury, sewage, hoarding, anything that has biohazard, we are trained and licensed to fix. And then this is just real briefly, I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's the process we take when handling a hoarding claim. It's a really strict process that we have to take. We can't move on to the next one without really finalizing the one before. So that's something, if you guys ever are interested, definitely can look back on. And last but not least is our pack out. This is extremely important, especially because this can be used on almost any loss, whether it's fire, water, hoarding, you name it. And this is if there's things that can be salvaged or clothes, furniture that they maybe are in the way where we're trying to do the work, we have the ability to take them and box them up and store them in our facilities until the job is finished and we can bring them back. This way the homeowner does not have to pay for a storage unit or, put all their belongings in one spot and be cluttered. We could help them out with that to make the job as efficient as possible. And the way this works is we put them in two types of inventory, salvageable and unsalvageable. Now, the accurate inventory of both salvageable and non-salvageable, that's the most vital part of this entire pack out. So before we can begin the process of pack out, items that can be restored are identified. And at that point, what we do is we box them, obviously label them, inventory them, and then pack them away. And anything that is non-salvageable, that's usually what the insured will handle themselves. Now, we do have the means of, getting a dumpster and getting rid of that stuff for them. But 9 out of 10 times, it's stuff that they'd like to hold on to, go through before they throw it away. So we kind of let them do that. But we definitely can help out with non-salvageables as well. So that's pretty much it. Just the last thing I'm really quickly going to run through is our large loss. Now, I know I mentioned we do have large hubs that we can handle the hurricanes and, the wildfires as well as residential stuff. So there's nothing really too big or too small that we can't handle. And these are just a few things that we've done within the last couple of years. A few of these I was actually a part of. Now, these are little case studies they did. You guys can definitely look them up if you're interested. But the 2017 California wildfires, that was we were out there for quite a bit, helping out those folks with all the damage they had. Hurricane Harvey, that's actually the Omni Hotel. I was actually one of the guys helping project manage that loss. That was one of the most probably humblest experiences I've ever had in my entire life. We also did Hurricane Florence just recently. Now, this one I did not have the privilege to do, but on the USS Miami, it was a submarine that had a fire. They actually had us out there and we were able to restore this submarine. It was a very amazing experience, something our company is extremely proud of. Unfortunately, I was not there personally, but it is definitely something we really hang our hat on. And last but not least, the Pentagon. After 9/11, we were one of the lucky companies that were chosen, actually our franchise, to go out and help restore the Pentagon post the 9/11 attacks. This is something, again, we're really extremely proud of, and again, hang our hat on, and really honored that they chose a company like us to go out there and help in such a critical time. But yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to participate. My name is Mike Resnick. That 224-229-2138 telephone number is my direct cell phone. That's something where you guys can reach me at any time if you guys have any questions, or if any of your policyholders have a claim that you guys need assistance on, please don't hesitate to call. Also, just having us go out and take a look at a claim before they file, or a loss before they file a claim. That's definitely something we urge you guys to utilize. And then my email, if you guys have any questions, please reach out. And then our website, you guys can definitely pull up a lot of good information on there. Well, other than that, does anyone have any questions?
Mike, thanks so much. That was some great information. I do have a couple questions for you. Where can our agents find their local reps? Is that on the website there?
That would be on the local rep, yeah, because you said it's nationwide, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's on the website. You can definitely find all the locations, and each location will have. I actually haven't been on the website in a little bit, but I know there's there you could go on there. You could find each hub, and I know they have a number to each branch. Now, I think you could probably either follow that link and find your personal rep. If not, then that link or that number to the branch could be somewhere you guys can call and find out who that rep is. But what I can actually do, Laura, if I don't know how we can do this, but if there's any way you could find out where I don't know if that's even doable, but I'd be happy to provide everyone with who their rep is if we can figure that out somehow.
Okay, that'll be fantastic. Yes, I'm sure everybody would love that. Also, question for you. With the follow-up and the documents and the pictures, do you always provide that to the agents at the end of a claim?
So we always have them. At all times, we have them. If when I first start my first claim I do for an agent, I always provide it. Now, sometimes they'll tell me, listen, Mike, it's unnecessary. You've done 20 jobs for me by now. I've never had a problem. I don't need them anymore. But first, until they tell me they don't want them, I always provide them. And even if they don't want them, I still have them. So a lot of times in the future, some agent may not want it, but some rare occurrence may happen where they need them for whatever reason. They can always reach out to me. We have all photos stored from every job we ever do. So that's definitely something they can reach out to me for.
All right, fantastic. And do you inspect the homes before filing the claim? You said free of charge, and is that 24/7?
Yes, it is. So it's definitely free of charge. As far as 24/7, if it's just an inspection, if it's the only time we may not be able to get out there right away is if we're extremely busy. Like, for example, if there's a polar vortex or something like that. If it's just a free, just go out there and put eyes on it. That's the only time we can is if there's homes that are, underwater that we have to get to. We obviously have to prioritize those over just a inspection. But if it's just a regular time, like let's say if I got a call today, absolutely we can get out there 24/7, no charge to take a look at those losses.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you. And also, can you supply me with a copy of your PowerPoint? And Sarah, if you could please send me that too. And the last question was, do you have a document with all of that great information to give the clients when they call when they have a claim?
We have marketing documents for absolutely everything. So the one that I like the best that I usually give away, it's our ServiceMaster DSI Advantage Slick. What that does is on one side, really just kind of it shows all of our locations, and on the back it just talks about all the services we provide. That's always a good one to give out initially, and then we have more in-depth slicks for every topic you could possibly think of. I guess the short answer to that is yes, we do have.
Okay, and that one slide, you had a couple slides that were the do's for telling your clients what to do in the event of a claim and what not to do. That's some of the agents would like to see those, so they could have them at the desks and be able to pull them out, when they're talking to a client to let them know. So Perfect. Thank you for that. I know that here in our home office, you guys have helped us so much with claims and cleaning up stuff. Myself personally, for one of my clients, so they were so excited and so happy and so relieved when you guys came out there, and it was in the city and it was in a condo, and they were just like, okay, now they were able to rest because they knew that everything was going to be taken care of. So I am really thankful for awesome. That. My insured was extremely happy. And also, I know you had mentioned suicide, and unfortunately we had to have you guys go out too on one of those claims as well. And as horrible as it was, afterwards, they were just so thankful at how understanding everybody was there, and being in their home and what they were going through. So they were extremely thankful to everybody there. So,
awesome.
so
Well,
Mike,
thank you.
thank you very much.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, so thank you so much, and I will get the everything out to everybody that Sarah went over with flood insurance and everything that Mike just went over. Is there any more questions that anybody has? All right, I don't have any more questions for you, Mike. So thanks again, and I will go ahead and I want to show everybody how we work on claims in Epic. So Mike, thanks. If you want to hang on, you can. If you wanted to jump off the call, that would be great as well. If you wanted to do that. Same for
All right.
Sarah.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. I'll talk with you soon.
Yep. Bye.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take back presenter. So I'm going to make myself presenter, and I want to show you guys just real quick. I know it's after 12, so I'll make it fast and painless to show you guys a couple of things. So in the reports in marketing, some of you may have this report, and it's called the Claims Received Report. And this report is something that we can set up for you if you don't already have it. We have this report coming to us daily, but for me to show you guys some information on the report, I just send it back 365 days. So right now, we go in and it's by producer. So you would have to come in here and edit this report, bring down all of your producers. I just grabbed a couple of ours within our home office. And when I click print preview, I'm going to show you what this looks like. So this may be your first notice of loss. Maybe your client didn't call you up to let you know. So a lot of the carriers are now downloading their claims directly into Epic. So we get this on a daily basis, and it's going to show you the name of your client that this auto claim downloaded. It's going to download the claim information, the claims adjuster information, any additional information for payments, and then once this claim is done, that download is going to close that claim. So it will be closed, but you'll get that information. You'll know if there's payments being made on any of these claims, and you'll be able to see that on this report. So now if we have a client that calls us up and says that they have a claim, and it may be with a carrier that doesn't download, or maybe we're just putting the information in here because maybe we're going to contact Mike and we're going to say, hey, Mike, can you go take a look at this for us? We would come into claims, find our clients, go into claims, and we can create a claim right here in Epic. So we can come in here and add in all of that information from the date of loss, who reported it, put in that claim information. We can add in more, the date that they reported it, who they reported it to, and then we can come in here and we can choose that policy. We can add in the risk location because this is my training client. Let's see what I have in here. I don't have anything in here. So you can go ahead and you would have your risk. If it's an auto claim, you can pull in the vehicle. You can pull in the driver information on here. If you have the claim number, you can put the claim number in here as well. So I'm going to come in here and show you guys this. Oh, what's the one? Okay, so now this claim is going to open up, and it's going to give me all the information that I need. An activity is generated, and what we do is we change this description. So we're going to add what the description is. We can add in the claim number here, add in any additional notes that we may want. So maybe you said, hey, I contacted Mike at ServiceMaster. He's going to go take a look at this property for me, and then he's going to get back to me. So you can add in all of your notes. Activities are all date and time stamps. They can't be removed. Help protect your E&O insurance as well. So over to the left, now we're in the claim like if we were in a policy. We get all the information that we needed to put in. So now we can come in here, put any of the servicing information in regards to our insured, how to contact them. We add in the adjusters. So now if your client calls you up and says, hey, I need to talk to my adjuster, you're going to have that information right here for this claim. Maybe your client calls you up and they said, hey, I don't know what's going on with my claim. Can you call my adjuster? Here's all that information right here. If you needed to put in any information regarding the additional parties and payments. So you're going to have all this payment information and you'll be able to add that in. But also, if the claim is being downloaded, all of that information is going to be in here. And using that claim report to follow up on this information is going to be very helpful. If you keep seeing payment coming through from one of your clients, you're going to know that that's going to be a pretty big claim. So maybe you want to reach out to your clients when you have claims. We have this claim report that is run every day for us. When we received that report, we go into attachments, and I'll show you our claim letter that we work on. We're going to add this attachment, and we're going to do a document. Not all of you have these documents set up, but we can set them up for you. So we have our claim letter. We're going to send it to Ginger. We're going to go in, we can take a look at all this information. We can put in that it's a home claim, farm claim, whatever it may be. And if we also have that information already in, we can pick the claim number. So I'm going to click continue. I'm going to attach it to my folder for claims. And then the letter is going to generate, and I'll pull that over as it's coming up. So this letter is what we send out to all of our clients when they have a claim. It's a generic, simple letter to them. It pulls in the date, it pulls in our client's information, their policy number, pulls in their name, and then it's a basic letter letting them know what they can do, and then it's signed by whoever the agent is. So right now, if I was sending that out, it would go in, it would put in Maggie's name. If I wanted to, I could change that, have that be my name, or it's user specific, so whoever is logged in under Epic, it would pull their name. So this is sent out to every single one of our agents when we are working with claims. We want our agents, or our clients to know we're here for them if they do have a claim. And we can get that set up for you guys as well. So you just have to let me know, and I can show you guys as well how to do that. So I know that I am over time, well over time. So I thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, I'll hang on for just a few more minutes. But thank you guys so much, and I look forward to working with everybody again next month with Live with Laura. Thanks for joining.